Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm cold. It was like 35 this morning.
Did they turn off the thermostat at night?
We need to have a conversation about the heat in here because it was on and set to 70 when I walked in. So when I walked in yesterday, somebody had cut the heat off completely in this building over the weekend.
Right.
And so it was frigid. But I cut it on last night or yesterday morning, and it doesn't seem like it got cut off last night. But today I come in and it's set to heat 70, but it's only 63 in here.
Well,
and I don't know.
It takes a while to heat up. So usually when I was coming in the mornings, I would go before I was going to the gym, and then I would turn it on, and then it would take like 2 hours for it to heat up.
But here's my thing. Nobody was here before me this morning. And so if it was set to 70, it should have been set from what I set yesterday and been a hold 70 the entire time. So I don't know if that's just because we have the warehouse and it's such like poor insulation.
Yeah, I'll talk to the team, see if they can just set it and forget it sort of thing to maybe a little bit higher. Because it does get a little cold, which is against Georgia and technically Atlanta policy because it doesn't really get cold down in the South. But
cold.
It's not cold like Pittsburgh. I'm Pittsburgh cold right now. I have my thermostat. Yeah, it's cold here. It's snowing. There's snow on the ground. I'm very happy about it. Yes, it's something that's nice to wake up to.
See, I love snow. I just don't love how cold it has to be to snow.
Yeah, and actually, you know, it's a completely different environment. That's why I like the Northeast. I'm a Northeasterner or North.
Yes, you are.
What you would. It's not a nor'easter.
It's not a nor'easter. That's a storm.
Yeah,
that's what I almost just said. My goodness. Well, I want to go ahead and point something out really quick. We have a little blank spot underneath me where we usually have the topic of today. And the topic of the day is Amazon affiliate marketing. I'll pop that up there just for continuity's sake. But we are going to have to remove it because we have two guests today. We have two friends today. I always love whenever it's four people. It makes my OCD very happy that it's even. But today we have with us Maya Harper and Eric Suddarth from SellerRocket that we actually met in Miami. So if anybody that was listening was in Miami, go on ahead and say hey in the comments. If you guys got to meet any of us, just let us know. Just say hello. Let's all meet up again at Prosper. Is that Luna in the background?
That is. I'm going to go let her out really quick.
She's fine. She's so quiet. Oh my gosh. Well, goodbye, Francois. Goodbye, Luna. And hello, Eric and Maya. How are you guys doing? Oh, wait, let me unmute you. Hold on. Don't say anything yet. Okay, there we go.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
I hear Francois has a cat.
I do. I had a 120-pound German Shepherd that passed a few months back. And before that, we got this little rescue kitty from the vet that we were taking him to in his old age. And so my girlfriend just saw the cat. She fell in love with her. And her name is Luna. She might join us. We'll see. She's in hunt mode right now because my roommate also has a little dog. So we're a house filled with pets.
Sounds incredible.
Are you a cat person, Francois?
If you would have asked me a year and a half ago, I would have said no. I definitely had, my one dog, and I had that dog my 11 years before that, 12 years almost. I'm growing fond of her. She could be cradled and walked around like a baby, which is funny, and she's learning tricks. So I'm able to like jump up and touch my hand like a high five sort of thing. So she's learning tricks. So she's basically a dog in cat form.
I've never seen Francois and the cat interact in person because she's up in Pittsburgh. But according to his girlfriend's Instagram, Francois is to the cat as the dad who didn't want the dog but loves the dog. It's that same energy where he's like, I don't know how I feel about her, but social media tells a different story, sir. Just know we see you.
She's a fun cat. She's a fun cat.
Oh man, there's delays all around this thing.
Oh,
We
there's
have
a
so many
delay.
people.
I'll
Francois,
shut
can
my
you
mouth. You
check
guys
your
go ahead and
internet?
go.
This is usually how this goes. It is a mess. Eric and Maya, why don't you guys go ahead and jump into each of y'all's backgrounds? Tell us a little bit about SellerRocket and what you guys do, how you guys kind of got into the e-comm world. Of course, we heard your stories at SellerMania is that what we were at? Yes, SellerMania. No. What were we
No.
at? Powwow.
The powwow.
Wow.
SellerMania happened after that. I'm sorry. At Powwow. We heard your stories at Powwow. But for anybody who's not familiar with y'all or with SellerRocket, go ahead and tell us about yourselves.
Eric, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Eric Suddarth. I also don't like the cold weather, so you're not alone on that one, Lisa. So I was born and raised in Texas, but now I live in Indiana, but I work for a company that's in Ohio, and so somehow I like got away from the warmth, and now I'm in the cold. It's like super cold up here today. But yeah, so Eric Suddarth, I'm a general manager at SellerRocket. I've been there since July. We're a super fast growing startup. We're going to talk all about that. But really what we do, we help brands grow their brands on e-commerce platforms like Amazon through helping them get featured in these things called editorial recommendations, both on and off of Amazon. So we'll talk all about that and how those can really help your brand grow and set your brand apart. But a little bit about me. So I'm a former military officer, went to West Point, and that's actually how I got connected to SellerRocket. We're a company actually founded by West Point graduates and combat veterans, which is pretty cool. So I got kind of recruited into the fold here, and it's been a neat ride the last 5 months or so. But after leaving the military, I spent about 10 years at both Johnson & Johnson and Eli Lilly and Company combined and did different finance and sales and marketing roles. But my main focus here at SellerRocket is helping us grow our commercial structure. I'm married, have 3 kids. We live in Indianapolis. I love to run, play fantasy football, and I definitely always go on a vacation to like somewhere warmer. So like we have this one spot in Florida that we love to go to between like Destin and Panama City Beach. But anyway, that's a little bit about me. And yeah, thanks for having us today, Lisa and Francois.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service, and for your sacrifice of leaving Texas and going to Ohio, because my family's from Ohio and I know how cold it is.
Yeah.
But it seems like you work for an awesome team, so it definitely it's worth it for sure. And you work with Maya, who we know firsthand is incredible. So Maya, go ahead and tell us about you, dear.
Yeah, I'll start with the same intro. Also a warm weather person. I have blankets on me in every meeting. You can't see them, but they're there.
She always does. Yeah.
I started in science, actually. I worked in 4 different labs before I started working with SellerRocket, and the opportunity kind of just fell into my lap. I had just switched into marketing from neuroscience and applied as an intern. I've been going through like this whole long interview process with all these other companies, and they just hired me like on the spot. They were ready for me to like get going, like hit the ground running, which was really intriguing for me. So I just said, kind of screw it. Okay, I guess I'll try this tiny little startup. And it's been great. I've been working for them for 8 months with a marketing focus, and just been watching the company like boom and grow. And we've had lots of new hires and new people come in, and it's been really fun. So it's been great.
Awesome. Well, it was so great to meet both of you guys in Miami, and we're so happy to have y'all here. A quick hello from Bernard Haar over at Hatio Group. He is tuning in from Southeast Asia. It's evening over there. So Bernard, thank you for tuning in. So editorial recommendations. Does that mean that you guys can get Amazon sellers on like Oprah's Christmas wish list? Like, is that what that means? Because that's definitely what I thought it meant when you guys were talking about it.
Similar. Not Oprah specifically, but we do help sellers. I wish. We help sellers get into publications, and a lot of them are from larger news sources. I don't know if we can actually name them on this podcast. But the bulk of them are members of the Amazon On-Site Associates program, which we'd love to dive into a little bit. Amazon is kind of broken up into two different sides with affiliate marketing. So they have their Amazon On-Site Associates program, and they have just the Amazon Associates program. And those are two different things. The Associates program is much larger. It's like 900,000 people, and anyone can join it. And that's just like, if you refer somebody to Amazon and they convert, then that person that referred them gets a commission. And then we work with the Amazon On-Site Associates publishers, and that's about 200 publishers, and they're allowed to post directly onto Amazon. So it'd be kind of the equivalent of like Oprah's like wish list thing, but it'd be like directly on Amazon, directly on a keyword. And it would just say like, this publisher is recommending these products to you. So we help sellers get into those.
Every time somebody mentions Oprah, all I can think of is that one episode where she says like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car.
Yes, the most memeable episode ever.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It reminds me of Drake and Josh, which is my millennial mind. But in Drake and Josh like hits Oprah with a car.
Oh, I do remember that.
She got
episode.
a car.
She got a car.
So wait, how does that work? So the affiliate is basically any website that, let's say like the blogs that just say, hey, top 10 things to buy for holiday this Christmas. That could be any blog that you just Google and you say, hey, best holiday gifts to buy, right? And then what sort of commission do those affiliates get when it comes to Amazon? And how much do sellers have to pay, or if they have to even pay, those affiliates to make that sale?
So I can start to cover that. So feel free to step in, Maya. But so the first, let me go back to a question you didn't ask that we get all the time, which is sort of who writes this content, whether it's on or off of Amazon. It's written by publishers. So publishers own this content, whether it's the Amazon On-Site Associates program, the editorials that show up in the Amazon search results, or if it's something off of Amazon. But really they work in similar ways where if somebody was to click on an editorial that's off of Amazon and they go to Amazon, they purchase a product and convert, then the publisher is using their sort of affiliate link with Amazon, and they're going to get a commission from Amazon for helping drive that traffic that converted. But if it's an editorial that's on Amazon, it actually works the same way, where the publisher that wrote the editorial is going to get a commission back from Amazon. Now, we don't know what that commission is, and we assume that they're potentially paying different commissions for an on Amazon conversion versus off of Amazon, but they really work in the same way where they're basically getting an affiliate commission for either situation there.
On Amazon, publishers can get up to 5% commissions back, and the highest category is like expensive beauty products pretty much. And then off of Amazon, I think it's technically 10%. It's an easier sale directly on Amazon, so they cut those commissions back.
And these are large names like Forbes and I guess you guys can't name, but they're
they're a part of the program. Yeah, some of the people in the program are smaller, like you never would have heard of them, but they're still in the program. They bring Amazon enough money for them to let them still post directly onto their site. But there are definitely large names there and large news sources.
Got it. Yeah, you'll see household names that you recognize, especially in the Amazon On-Site Associates program. There's some really big household name publishers that have really built a lot of trust with their reader base, whether they are from a newspaper, magazine, whether it's an online type of publication. But there's some really good trusted brand names there that, you know, if I'm selling something on Amazon and I know I can get the trust of that brand name potentially behind my product, it could really do a lot to help, you know, get somebody over the hump to determine like, okay, should I purchase this product or not? Well, if this really trusted publisher has put their name behind it, then maybe I should. So
And so I guess there's really two sides to this, right? There's the seller side and then there's the consumer side. And from a consumer standpoint, where would I find this? And I guess this kind of feeds into the seller standpoint too, but where do consumers see this? Is this something where when they're searching it, they see like a tag for it? Is it like a paid ad where they have a banner for, I don't know, editorial picks? Is it the front page?
It's on like it's within the first third of the front page, and it's a pretty big section on Amazon, and they render on any keyword. They're not on every keyword yet, but we're hoping eventually they will be. And you just type a keyword in, maybe it's like coffee machine, and an editorial will come up within a third of the page and say best coffee machine. The publisher will be like Forbes, for example, and then it'll have like 3 to 10 products within it that they just recommend to you, and just seeing that is usually enough for sellers to want to buy those products.
And there'll also be a link to a full article. We've done some heat mapping in the past at SellerRocket to see how many people actually click on the full article. We find it's like less than 3% of users that see the editorial on the search results page on Amazon will ever click on it. But it's usually laid out in a rectangle. And there'll be 3 products sort of showing within the rectangle. And then there's usually an arrow to the right that can show sort of products 4 through 10. But most people will look just in the rectangle at the 3 products that the publisher has kind of put in there. And usually the one on the far left will be sort of the top choice. It'll be marked as like best pick, number 1 choice, top choice, something like that, to kind of delineate that this is what the publisher has chosen as the number 1 product in this editorial article.
Okay. And so I guess my next question from that is, who chooses this? Is this a pay to play sort of environment where you can be number 1 if you pay enough or if you have enough reviews? I guess, like, how do they determine what is number 1?
Yeah. Like, what's the prerequisite to be a product to be in one of these lists?
So this is the most important thing is a brand has to have a good product. So the publisher is the one that will decide what they're going to put in the article. And so you can think of SellerRocket as sort of like a brand advocate. We're talking to lots and lots of brands selling in just about every category. But if we talk to a brand that does not have a great product and it's not a strong product in its category, it's likely if we took that product to a publisher, the publisher is not going to either want to put that in the editorial or not going to put it in a top placement. So that the publisher, keep in mind, is wanting to make sure that they don't erode user trust over time. So the publisher wants to make sure that they're keeping good products in the article and recommending products that are strong and have a good, or they do what they say they're going to do, or they're competitive in the category. Because if you think about like where we are right now with user reviews, there's been so much in the media about user reviews being unduly influenced by free samples written by bots, people like writing fake reviews. And so this is kind of like editorials have gained even more importance now, because if people are saying, well, I think I might want to purchase this product, but I don't know if I trust these user reviews. But hey, I see that Good Housekeeping recommends this as the best vacuum cleaner. Like maybe that's going to help me to have more trust. This is a good product, and maybe that's going to help me convert. And so what you wouldn't want to do over time is erode that trust, and people think, well, this was just put here because somebody paid a certain amount. So all SellerRocket does is we take a list of opportunities to publishers to say, would you be interested in this brand? Is this brand good enough to be in your article? But the publisher sort of owns that decision and will decide, do they put it in there? If they do, what do they write about it? So it's kind of all owned by the publisher.
Gotcha. And we have another comment from a viewer that everybody here knows. David Dayon tuning in from LinkedIn saying, damn, 4 awesome people on one screen. David, thank you for watching, honey. If you guys haven't seen it, he's awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, check out his podcast with Frank Acosta, New York Hustle Radio. It is an awesome show. They just have
And
folks
join the e-comm
on
cooperative
and join
if
the
you
e-comm
haven't.
cooperative.
Yes,
Yeah.
completely free for any free advertisement, David. Completely free for any Amazon seller if they want to join the e-comm cooperative and gain benefits from tons of different Amazon service providers, I think. Pretty sure. Or e-comm service providers, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sure he'll correct us in the comments
correct.
if that's not right. But he's giving you guys a free shout out too. SellerRocket is the only option when it comes to editorials.
There we go.
David
David
is the man. He is the man.
Oh yeah.
I got to be on the New York Hustle podcast for a few minutes, like a week ago or so, and it was so cool. I'm actually going to be on with him next week. So David's an awesome guy. Yeah, we got to spend some time with him in Miami. So
he's absolutely
hands out one of the
incredible.
best people I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Such like his energy is the same, like virtually and in person. Just so warm. And I do love that they do the cameos on New York Hustle Radio. That's a really fun thing. I don't know. Maybe we should try it. That's a lot more than that.
That's a lot.
That would be stressful for me.
I think we have enough to cram into an hour. But
that's a good point.
What you said kind of sparked another question in regards to what makes a product strong. Like what, if I'm first starting out, I'm guessing, with no reviews or minimal reviews, I'm not a strong candidate, but what if I'm the most competitive in pricing? Maybe I consider myself very strong in that category. So like what should a brand be thinking about for a strong product to go into an editorial?
We base it mainly on how well you're doing on the keywords and then just your general rating and review count. So the editorials render based on pretty much how well the products within them are doing on the keyword that the editorial is going to be on. So the better you're already doing on the keyword, the better the editorial usually does, because it's not going to render 100% of the time. We usually see it averaging like 25% of the time. And then we usually like to say having 4-star reviews and 100 ratings is sort of what gets you to be kind of qualified to be in an editorial. If you're doing it off Amazon, that's a little more lenient, but Amazon has its own restrictions. So that usually is what will get you the likeliest chance of getting into the editorial.
And also the publisher is going to look at what they think is most likely to convert. And so the publisher is going to be doing some research, looking at that category as a whole. They're going to look potentially at some data. They may look at BSR rating, so that the publisher is going to want to know, all right, if I'm going to put this product in this article, how likely do I think this is to convert based on other things in the category? And because the publisher wants to make money, obviously. So if they don't think it's going to convert well, it doesn't have good keyword rank, like Maya was mentioning before, then it may struggle to get a lot of attention from publishers. But this is something that like brands can do on their own. They can try to go directly to publishers and say, hey, I got this product. Would you want to write about it? But many brands have tried this and don't get anywhere. They don't get traction. Publishers don't respond to them. And so like we're kind of a nice, simple way to get a brand sort of exposed to 200 plus publishers. And so we have so many relationships, and we know like certain brands can be great fits for certain publishers. And so we can help sort of make this simpler for them, make it more likely that a publisher is going to give them time of day, and potentially help that brand get featured in an article.
Yeah, when editorial recommendations came out, it was, I think in 2018 is when they went live. And every article you read about them at that time are people wondering how to get into them and talking about how there are like Reddit pages everywhere where sellers are just trying to figure out how they can get access to these, and people kind of just gave up on it, I think. And now this year, I feel like it's become more of like a buzzword because there are now people like us in the space who are able to provide direct access to them. So it's now becoming like a form of advertising on Amazon that's different than PPC. And sellers are having to consider it as something that they can actually use. And so, yeah.
So, and when a product is featured in one of these editorials, and like you said, it comes up in the top third of that search result page, how long does that populate for? Like it can't be like indefinitely on that keyword, can it? I mean, how is it, like 30 days that it'll show this article? Because like Forbes and them are posting stuff constantly. So how long is that run for?
It's quite variable. So we've seen some articles have actually been up since the program started on Amazon, like more than 2 years ago. But that's not usually what we see as kind of a norm. Usually more likely anywhere from like 3 to 9 months. It's been a little bit more what we've seen more consistently. But to Maya's point earlier, it's all about the keyword rank. And so if the article has strong keyword rank, and we don't get this data, but Amazon does, if it's driving lots of clicks, it's driving lots of impressions, and it's allowing more and more eyeballs to get to certain PDPs, then it's much more likely to continue to render. But if that editorial goes up and it's not driving good conversion, it's not driving a lot of clicks, maybe the keyword rank has decreased, or in that category, certain other keywords are now are much more higher volume, then that editorial might start to render less and less. And so when we see that, we sometimes will work with the client to say, all right, can we work back with the publisher to select different keywords, or can we try and get you in a different article to see if maybe we need to refresh this? Every so often, Amazon will decide to pull articles down. This is something that they can kind of do on their own sort of schedule. And if they decide to, every so often, they've decided to change their sort of quality standards with publishers, certain things that they want to see in these articles. That's not something that we have a whole lot of purview to. They kind of do that directly with the publishers. But we have seen that happen as well before. But the off of Amazon articles are like up in perpetuity. Those never, like rarely ever will come down. And so it's a little different, but on Amazon, there is a little bit more variability there.
Gotcha. And I assume the answer to my next question is also going to be it varies, it depends, which is like, on average, what does getting your product listed in one of these editorials do for the seller's conversion rate on that SKU?
Definitely depends.
Okay.
You guys sound like consultants.
I know. Yeah, it'll depend on how competitive the category is, but it definitely helps your PPC conversions a lot. Just having your product on the page, again, especially coming from an external source, it's the only thing on the front page where it's like, this other person is recommending your product. You don't see that anywhere else. It's all self-promotional on the front page. So having that definitely converts a lot better, and it improves your PPC conversions a lot as well. But it definitely varies per product category. Just every category is different, so it's hard to give like an accurate estimate.
We did have, so this is a case study that we talk about. We did work with a supplement brand that had editorial content both on and off of Amazon. And they saw within 60 days of those editorials going live, they saw a 9% sales lift over baseline for editorials on Amazon. They saw a 7% lift over baseline for editorial content off of Amazon. But then to Maya's point, they saw a 50% improvement in sales based on organic and PPC conversion. We call this the halo effect. But if the editorial is helping, if it's rendering and it's driving more and more conversion, it's improving your organic and PPC keyword rank. And so dollars you're already spending start to work better for you. So the editorial is kind of like that. If you've ever heard of that phrase, rising tide lifts all boats, it kind of does that with other things you're already working on. And so you'll actually usually see the majority of your sales come through your organic or your PPC campaign.
So it's more of an attribution where you would have to start to plan out and really think about, hey, I was running this campaign for the past 4 or 5 months. How is that affecting me 4 or 5 months later? That makes sense. But is that data given to the sellers? As in, do they know how many units have converted because of that article or blog, or what would we call it? Just editorial?
Yeah, we have a dashboard where they can track every conversion that comes directly from the editorial, and they're based on 24-hour last click attribution. So anything they're getting outside of that, we're actually not tracking, but they're obviously getting revenue from it. And we also don't track PPC conversion changes on our end. So everything from that, we don't charge them for. It's just kind of like an extra boost for them that they get.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And shit, what was I going to ask?
Well, I have a question. If between the difference between like on Amazon and off Amazon. So these editorial recommendations, I'm assuming, are like when you go to a Shopify store or something and it says featured in Forbes or as seen on Forbes. Is there any place that the Amazon seller can kind of relink to that recommendation on like their probably not A+ content, but in their Amazon store, like on their seller page profile,
or their own website, like their own Shopify
Yeah,
store?
can they
That
link
was my
back
question.
to it? Yeah.
So for the on Amazon editorial, unfortunately, no. Now for off of Amazon editorial content, absolutely. So like that link can be shared. We have a lot of clients that'll do this where they have their own like social campaigns going, and so they want to say like, hey, check out this article that we've been featured in on this publisher's website, and here's a link to it, and that's very common. But the interesting thing about the like on Amazon editorial content is like Lisa, Francois, Maya, and I could all use the exact same keyword in Amazon search. And Maya might find an editorial. I might find a different one. Lisa might not find one at all. Maybe Francois finds a different one. Like it's very interesting the way like the search algorithm will work to where like we almost have to like sometimes screenshot something because you may not be able to find it again for a while, or you have to use like an incognito browser with that same keyword you used yesterday to find the article again. So it's really interesting the way that these will show up, or that you'll get different editorials rendering for you based on using the same keyword you used yesterday. So it's really unique in that way. We even saw something really interesting that Amazon we're assuming they were A/B testing this about 5 or 6 weeks ago. But for a while, you would put in a keyword on Amazon.com, and at the very top of the page, above sponsored ads, you would see editorials rendering, and they would actually have multiple articles there. So like maybe there would be a rectangular box with 3 products in it for an editorial, but then below that, there were anywhere from like 5 to 10 additional articles and like little pictures of those articles, and you could click on the links and go to them. So this was really interesting how they actually were moving them to the very, very top of the page. Now they've stopped doing that within like the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think we've noticed that's kind of gone back to what it was before. But yeah, it's really weird how, like, because we'll be on the phone with people and we're showing them an editorial and we're showing them the keyword we used, and they use it, they type it in on their end and they can't get it, or they find a different one than we found. And so it's really unique.
And are they, I know we talked a little bit about the editorials or the publishers making money through the affiliate link, but do the sellers have to pay for that, or is Amazon already charging them, I guess, for those either clicks or conversions?
For the access that we provide, they are charged for it, but sellers or publishers could technically write and just put a seller into one of these articles, and the seller wouldn't pay anything for it. It's just difficult to actually have that happen. But technically, no, like on the surface, sellers don't have to pay to get into editorial recommendations unless they're trying to access them themselves and they come through us.
And so when they are reaching out to publishers, even, well, I guess because I'm sure there's going to be some brands out there that want to try it first because before they realize, well, shit, this is easier done through a service like yours.
Right.
If they were to try to do it themselves, I guess, what should they be preparing? Who should they be even contacting? It might sound counterintuitive, but I think, I mean, we've even realized it with the sourcing. It's like, if you lay all the cards out on the table about all the steps that you have to do, you realize you're doing a lot of work. And if you want to multiply this through tons of different publishers, it gets complex. What would they, I guess, need to prepare to reach out to publishers themselves?
I guess if it were me, I would be looking at who is writing articles that are about the products that I'm actually making and then reach out to them directly. Every publisher does it differently though. So some of them might want to see the product. Some of them might just have to do like criteria matching. And I think it's just really difficult for publishers to just receive cold outreach emails all day long because they have to go through and then find these products and make sure they're legit. And it's just a long-winded process for them. So yeah, I guess if it were me, I would just be reaching out to the ones that I'm seeing directly on Amazon and trying. But it's hard because, again, a lot of these are really big news sources. So they're receiving mail like all the time. And yeah, it's definitely hard to know, to vet a product that you've never heard of before or a brand you've never heard of before that's just like landed in your inbox.
I would probably give up quickly, Francois. I'm not gonna lie. Just like,
but go by all means try it. Like go ahead and try it if you want to.
Yeah, I'm sure getting in Forbes is not as easy as like enlisting a micro influencer where it's like, let me send you my super cool coffee mug and then you talk about it. Like that's not gonna fly.
Yeah,
right.
Well, is there any data maybe that they can try out? And I'm thinking also more so, the first time trier of this, they might have a upscale brand that they just want to try to reach out to some publisher. Should they try to get, let's say Jungle Scout data, Helium 10 data? Is there any data source that they can pull, maybe just Amazon data itself, that they can take screenshots of and then validate with like a link or something to send to these publishers? And I don't want to steal any, of your flair of the company. I get the value. And I think a lot of sellers that value their time, and a lot of businesses in general that value their time, will reach out to service providers like yours. But I think more so speaking to also the smaller sellers, is there any data that they could provide?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it were me, you want to make the publisher do as little work as possible. So if you can give them like all of the Helium 10 or Jungle Scout data up front, like this is the sales we're doing, these are the keywords we're on or something like that, then they don't have to go through and dig and find that themselves. So I would say the more data you can give them, the better.
I think one of the challenges, so this was your question a couple of minutes ago about like who should they reach out to. I think that's going to be a difficult thing because there's not really any spot on a publisher website where they're going to say like reach out to John to try and get a brand here. So if they have some normal like info at whatever.com, it's like some shared email box, and so you don't know like who's checking that or what they use it for. And so I think that's the main frustration we hear from sellers is I sent thousands of emails, I sent free product samples, so I incurred a capital cost by sending these samples out to lots of publishers, never heard anything back. And so honestly, like I wouldn't even know if I was going to try and do that, I wouldn't even know who to reach out to at a publisher if it wasn't for like relationships that like SellerRocket already had. I would have had no idea like who the right person is. And I think that's kind of the struggle that people have is it's not like publicized, who the key people are to reach out to and like what to tell them. So it can become a struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something I forgot to mention is that a lot of these publishers have their own content calendars that they kind of budget out for months, and we'll try to match our ASINs to their content calendars. So for somebody doing cold outreach, I think it'd be kind of like luck of the draw, if you happen to send an ASIN that they're looking for right then maybe they'll get you into their articles. But otherwise, I think it's really easy to kind of just like skip over the email and maybe like intend to come back to it and never actually do.
And that was going to be my question, was either it sounds like trying to do it on your own, unless you've got some revolutionary product with a lot of publicity behind it, it's going to be almost impossible. So
Pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass, yeah. So let's say somebody approaches SellerRocket and says, hey, I would love to get my product listed in editorial, let's say for the holiday season, right? We're coming up on Christmas. How long does that process usually take from like, hello, I would like this to happen, to its rendering on Amazon?
Yeah. So great question. We get this one a lot. So I'll give you kind of two scenarios here. So the first one is, hey, I want to have my editorial rendering on Amazon. And so we say that from the time that the request comes to us to the time the article goes live is anywhere from about 8 to 12 weeks. And the main determining factor there is, does the publisher already have an article written where the product could be a good fit for it? So if the publisher gets a product that SellerRocket brings over and the publisher says, oh, this is a perfect fit for this article I wrote 3 months ago, and I would like to fit this product into that article, then it's closer to that like 8-week time frame. If it's a net new article that has to be written by a publisher, it takes longer, and it's usually closer to the 12-week time frame. Now, the biggest sort of hurdle in this is the last step of this process, which is the Amazon approval. So Amazon doesn't write the content, they don't create the content, but they do have the final approval of it. And sometimes things can sit for a while. We don't necessarily have a way to directly communicate with that team, and the publisher cannot like unduly influence that team either. So it's sort of once it gets there, it's kind of out of everybody's hands until Amazon approves it and goes forward. But we recommend, when folks are wanting to grow their brand online by using editorial content, to do a two-pronged approach. So the editorials on Amazon are great for people that are doing research on Amazon for your product already, which we found that on Prime Day this year, 6 in 10 people that bought something on Prime Day only did research on Amazon for their product. They never went to Google. They did all their research in Amazon search. But outside of Prime Day, we find that it's about 50% will do some research for certain purchases on Google. So they'll be looking around, trying to find articles, what should be recommended. And so for the 50% of people looking for your product off of Amazon first, it's great to try to get that content on a trusted publisher website if you have a good product and they want to write about it. And there, the turn time is much, much faster. So if there's an existing article with a publisher that we work with and they want to put the product in there, we can see that turn sometimes in like 1 day, sometimes less than like in a few hours. I've seen it happen really quickly. If a net new article has to be created there, then we say 2 to 3 weeks usually is kind of the turn time. So it's a lot faster. And also, if you have somebody with a brand new product, they don't have any, or they don't have very many reviews yet, or maybe they don't have a 4-star rating on Amazon yet, the off of Amazon content is a great way to help like increase the traffic going to the PDP, increase conversion, increase your reviews and your rating. And then like you can build towards the on Amazon editorial later if it's a new launch product. But we see like the people that are most successful in our program, they use the two together to really help grow their brand.
Okay.
And how does this, so we talked about an 8 to 12 week turnaround time. How does this translate when it comes to holidays? We were just talking to Christina Passamore yesterday about listings and how you should adjust your listings for, let's say, seasonality. You want to do that a few months in advance. But let's say I have a hammock, and the hammock is really popular for, let's say, I don't know, Memorial Day or Labor Day camping, and you wanted to get into an editorial for, I don't know, like REI or best top 10 things to bring when you're camping.
Yeah, outdoor gift guide or
outdoor,
something.
something like that. Is there a longer lead time to try to get into those types of articles?
Do you want to cover that, Maya?
Well, the timeline you provided, Eric, that seems like the holiday timeline. I've definitely seen a lot shorter than that. So is that like the longest we see? I actually don't know the answer to that question.
So that's what we're seeing right now. So there was a little bit of a kind of a backlog within Amazon that started back in August, and most of that has now cleared, but that kind of created a little bit of a longer lead time. And so we've been sharing that lead time for the on Amazon editorials because we don't want to share a shorter one and then people wait longer and have a negative experience. And so we're trying to just set expectations. It very well could be shorter in the future, but that's just what we're seeing right now.
Got it. And I mean, I think a huge topic in today's conversation for Amazon sellers, but just brands across the board on e-commerce is supply chain, right? And it's probably the biggest struggle I think that everyone's encountering. With this boosting sales and traffic in general to listings, I guess, do you guys have conversations with your brands around, hey, have your inventory prepared? Are you running into issues 3 months down the road? Do you see any forecasting or inventory issues down the road? Are those the types of conversations that you're having today too?
We definitely talk to brands about it because these editorials do get pulled down or they'll just stop rendering if somebody doesn't have the inventory. So if you go out of stock, we'll just pull them out, or we can sub a different product into them. So we want to make sure that our brands are actually, fully stocked on inventory, and we'll try to refer them to some partners if they're having difficulty with it. But usually that is something that we look at, especially just bringing them on at first. Like if all of their products have low inventory, it can be a little bit alarming to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's what we're seeing is this issue of just, first of all, the port delays with over 70 container
Right.
vessels just sitting at the port of Long Beach in LA. So it's something where it's scary to know what's going to happen once all that clears out, once everything starts to get back. It's almost going to burst this bubble of perfection that Amazon's been running with their inventory for the past 5-6 years. So I'm scared to see what actually happens there and warehouse overload and everything. I just don't know how that's also going to impact, I guess, the editorials. And let's say something that did come out back in 2018 that might not be up today, that they just were SOL when it comes to inventory and they couldn't manage their supply chain effectively. So I'm glad you guys are having those types of conversations, definitely. Are there any tips, I guess, that you would have for brands that are looking to get onto on-site editorials specifically versus the off-site?
Yeah, we've been working with some companies that do influencer marketing, and I think that that's a good way to start. If you're really trying to do like product launch period, get your product to 100 reviews, I think like micro influencer marketing is a really good idea. Offsite, we can also do if you have at least some standing on your products. And those are really powerful. I know we haven't talked too much about it, but those publishers have really high domain ranks. So just getting into those, that backlink to Amazon can boost your organic ranking a lot and help you get to a position where you can get into an on-site editorial.
Yeah. We have a number of publisher partners that now have thousands of articles that are ranking on the first page of Google for certain keywords. And so the cool thing about that is if we're talking to a brand and they've got a product that could potentially fit into one of those existing off of Amazon articles, they'll be able to see, all right, where does this show up on this keyword on Google today? Oh, wow, this is right below the sponsored ads. Okay. Could I see that like driving value for my brand? Oh, and it's an existing article. So like I could potentially, if the publisher wants to put me in there, I could potentially be in there in like a day. That's exciting. So like we definitely recommend not putting all of your eggs in one basket with editorials. Also, like certain people will say, well, I just want one article on Amazon. We would recommend more of like a diversification approach there. We do see the people that are the clients that we have that have seen the most success. They will use both the off of Amazon and on Amazon editorial content to their advantage, but also we work with them and advocate to publishers to get them in multiple articles. And that's where you really see like the best results from this, because weird things can happen if you're only in one article. If the keyword volume decreases unexpectedly on that keyword, and so that editorial is not rendering very often, or there are just other things that can happen. Maybe like you get put right next to your biggest competitor and you're just struggling to get as many conversions from that editorial. So if you are in a more diversified approach there and you've got multiple articles on Amazon, off of Amazon, that's where you can really see the most lift. And that's where we've seen the most success from clients that we work with.
Got it. So our editorials, would you recommend they are not one of the first things that you should try to do for more traffic and conversions?
If you have the ratings and reviews, I would say do it. Again, it's guaranteed front page visibility, which does really, really well for people, especially in competitive categories where you're having a hard time just getting your product shown on the first page multiple times or even breaking the first page at all. So if you do have and meet the criteria, I would definitely recommend them. But if you're lower, you can definitely do other things first and then go ahead and go into the editorial.
I'd say the most consistent feedback that we get from clients that we talk to is, I feel like I'm throwing money away every month with PPC campaigns that aren't converting as well as I would like them to. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I should be spending more. I don't know if I should change my strategy. I don't know what my strategy is. And so we hear this a lot, especially from smaller sellers. This is like a consistent pain point that we hear from them. And so think of the editorial as almost like a way to stand out differently. So if I'm a small brand and I don't have the PPC ad budget of a big brand that's in my category, and I'm trying to figure out how can I compete with them. I don't have the ad budget scale that they do, and so I can't outspend them. Well, if I have a good product and I can get a trusted editorial or a trusted publisher name behind my product, this might be a way that I could actually sort of stand out ahead of that big name brand. And so this is like a way, especially for a smaller brand, that they can feel more confident in distinguishing themselves and sort of standing out from the pack. And so because this is not, we don't normally see people just do editorials. They're already spending money on PPC. So if the editorial can drive more conversion and potentially help their PPC budget to go farther and convert better, then they see it as kind of like a double whammy. It's like, well, why wouldn't I try that? Because today I feel like I'm wasting a lot of money on PPC and I'm not getting the conversion that I want. Maybe this can help it work better for me. So we do hear that a lot. Like that's probably the most consistent pain point I've heard from sellers since joining the team.
Gotcha.
And can you use one or two editorials that you're in to try to get into other publishers, sort of as, I guess you could see them as stepping stones? Like, for example, if you get into Forbes and I guess my first question is, if you get into Forbes, I keep using this as an example. I think I see it everywhere. And that's
you're all about the Forbes.
I'm all about the Forbes, I guess. But I see this on the first page. Can I go back to my website and list as seen in Forbes? Is that something that's allowed?
Sellers do it, but technically there could be issue if you don't have the jurisdiction to. We can do it because we have it from the publishers. So if the seller is working with us, we can like embed the recommendation onto their D2C site. But that we created that as a way to kind of help sellers, because you can't get into issues with publishers if you're taking it and putting it on your site, which is unfortunate.
It becomes a licensing issue there. So the publisher owns the content, and so if you don't have their written permission to post that, then you could potentially create a legal situation for yourself. So another like thing that we can kind of help the seller not go down a bad path with there, because we have seen some will do that, and the publisher, if the publisher finds out, usually they'll try first just like reaching out and telling the seller, please take this down, you don't have our permission to put this up. But yeah, it could create kind of a legal situation there for the seller.
Yeah, we everybody loves the aisle, but maybe let's keep some folks from having to call her in need of an Amazon lawyer, and just use SellerRocket to begin with to get those recommendations shown on your D2C site, like Maya said. And as we come to the end of the episode here, I do want to hear kind of what is the best sized, what does like an ideal customer for you guys look like, or an ideal client for y'all look like? Who would be a best fit?
Yeah, so I'll start with this. So an ideal client to us can really be a client of any shape or size. So we work with sellers from selling one ASIN on Amazon to the largest aggregator selling thousands of ASINs on Amazon. And so we're just looking for a seller that has a good product. So rule of thumb that we covered earlier, for an on Amazon editorial, we're looking for somebody with at least a 4-star rating and 100 reviews. But for off of Amazon content, we don't need to have as many. And a lot of times a new launch product can be a great fit to start there and then eventually transition to an on Amazon editorial. But really, we're looking for any seller that wants to figure out a new way to stand out. So like we said before, everybody we're working with is already spending money on PPC campaigns. And they're already trying to figure out every angle they can to help sell more. And what we found is that trusted publisher names behind your brand can really, really help, especially right now with the distrust of user reviews and people thinking that they're written by bots, they're fake, unduly influenced by samples. And so this is a way for you to stand out. And so we're really looking for sellers that sell products in nearly any category. There are just a few like categories where we won't, take a brand to a publisher, somebody with an adult themed product, a weapon, religious or political in nature products. Other than that, we will work with folks in just about.
And if you make medical claims, you can't work with anyone making medical claims.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
So nothing with the FDA, nothing that requires FDA certifications, or do you work with like children's products? That's a huge category.
Yeah,
we do.
Okay.
We have a lot of great clients in that space. So with medical claims, so like we do work with supplement brands. Supplements can sometimes be a little bit more challenging to get content approved on Amazon. We have seen some get through in certain categories, but off of Amazon, lots of options there. But really, we work with clients in just about any category at all. And if folks want to work with us, the best thing to do is send an email to launch@sellerrocket.io. So launch@sellerrocket.io. You can see our website there on the screen as well. We'd love to talk to you. We could take you through a full demo. We can also do keyword consulting with you. We can look at your product catalog and make recommendations on what would be the best fit for our program. We can work with you as a consultant to help you figure out how editorials can best work for you. So yeah, please reach out. We'd love to talk to you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And you took my last question of where can folks reach out to you, but it's launch@sellerrocket.io, and that is on the screen. And as always, will be in the description of the video and the audio version. I bet our consistent listeners could just do the intro and the outro without me. Like it's the same every time. Yeah. We don't even need me here. Maya, Eric, thank y'all both so much for coming on. This has been awesome. We really appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I hope you get to warm weather, Lisa.
Thank you. I do too.
Yeah, we got to get back to Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully.
back to Miami soon enough, hopefully.
And thank you for everybody who tuned in live today, and to Bernard and David for saying hello. And if you guys are listening after the fact or doing a replay, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share with your friends, subscribe to the show, ring the bell for notifications, and turn on those automatic downloads on Apple Podcasts. That way you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Maya and Eric with SellerRocket. Thank y'all again so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.